Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Colton, and today I want to talk about the Olympus E-500. So the E-500 was announced in 2005, and it comes with a Kodak 8 megapixel CCD sensor. Now this sensor is still more than enough if you want to do small prints, if you want to do a photo book or a zine, share to social media or the internet, put a collage together. It's more than enough in regards to that. And what's really cool about this sensor is that it really beautifully handles colors in the raw files, which is something that I have really enjoyed in using this camera. Now, this is not going to be a camera that replaces your modern day camera. Obviously, that's absurd. It's not going to compete in terms of image resolution, dynamic range, ISO performance. So if you're doing paid gigs or anything like that, you're still going to use your modern day camera. But I really feel like this camera can fit as a creative tool for your own personal projects, your artistic projects. I've been shooting this camera a lot in the studio, going out and shooting it, doing still lives, and I've really enjoyed the images. I've shared some of them on Instagram, and a lot of people have really been blown away and really excited about the images, not knowing that they're from a camera that is almost 20 years old. So if you want to check out those, I have a link to my Instagram in the description of this video, and you can see them for yourself. But talking about the camera in general, it does have a few advantages and a few disadvantages. The body is made of plastic, and the plastic feels super cheap, so it definitely doesn't inspire confidence and excitement when you first pick it up. But the trade-off is that it is a little bit lighter in weight because of that. And so that can definitely be an advantage if you're not wanting to carry around a super heavy camera, or if you're like me and you don't want a heavy camera hanging around your neck, then that con is also a bit of a pro as well. In terms of physical features of this camera, it does offer dual card support, so you can use either or a CF card or a XD picture card, although I will say, in my experience, the XD picture card wrote way slower to the camera than the CF card did. So I would highly recommend using a CF card. Benefit is they're way more common and typically cheaper anyway, so it's kind of a win-win. Other than that, it does have a Olympus hot shoe mount, so you can use any hot shoe accessories for your Olympus camera. That's been super nice for me because I can just literally plug it into my existing flash and lighting setup. I don't have to buy a whole new kit or anything like that. And then it has a USB port on the side of the camera. This can be used for transferring images. It can be used to remotely control the camera, or also if you want to display the images from this camera on a different monitor or TV, you can use that USB port to do all of that. Now, the button layout is nothing to be excited about. It is a very dated way of organizing the buttons on this camera, but I will say once you play around with them a little bit and you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. I've definitely played with worse button layouts, so this kind of not great, but not terrible either. And that kind of goes for the menu system as well. It's not a super intuitive menu system, but it's also not the worst menu system I've seen. So similarly, once you start getting the hang of the menu system, it's really not that bad. So this camera also uses a 4/3 lens mount. That's for DSLRs, not to be confused with micro 4/3, which is for mirrorless cameras. But the 4/3 lens mount is one that is used by more than one brand, so you can cross-pollinate a little bit. You can take a Panasonic lens for 4/3 and stick it on this camera and use it. So that's really cool. I will say there is probably some reduced functionality when you do that, and also The Olympus native lens for this camera are beautiful. Even the kit lens works really great and is pretty sharp, but even if you take a step up and you introduce some additional lens, either prime or some of their higher end zoom lens, it is just amazing. The results are so, so good. One that I would highly recommend that is fairly cheap and you can definitely find it used for ridiculously low amount of money is the 35mm prime lens. That lens is a macro lens, so it's great for still lifes, great for portraits, because it has a 70mm full frame equivalent point of view. And so I found it to be super sharp and really great for a lot of projects that I used it on. I also picked up a 14-54, which is a 28-108 equivalent. So it's a really great range for all around shooting, and it's very sharp. So definitely some great lens out there for this camera system. You can't go wrong if you find them on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, anything like that. Or if you just want to pay a little extra and get something that is returnable, you could also go the eBay route as well. Now, as I mentioned before, this is not a camera that you're gonna just sell your modern day camera and replace it with this. Autofocus is definitely limited. There's no video functionality on this camera whatsoever. It is only 8 megapixels, and the ISO performance of a CCD sensor isn't really the best. So if you're doing paid gigs or you're doing any kind of work with a modern day camera, you're still gonna do that. But this is a very fun camera to play around with. You can still get them fairly cheap, and they really do produce a very beautiful image, especially if you take your time putting that image together. The colors, as I mentioned, I'm really not kidding. They really blew me away. I have a couple videos where I played around with this camera and work that was very much color involved. I even put this camera head to head against a Sony CMOS sensor camera, and I was really kind of blown away by the difference in how the colors were handled by the two different sensor types. So I'll put that link in the description as well if you want to check out that video. But I gotta say, this is a camera that I plan to continue to use for any kind of creative projects or art projects. And I'll say, if you have used this camera before and I missed anything, or there's any features that you want to call out, definitely drop them in the description below and share that knowledge. And also, if you're someone who's interested in this camera and you have questions about it, drop those questions in the comments below too, and I will do my best to answer every single question that is asked of me. With that being said, if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. It takes a lot of work to put these together, so I do appreciate that. And I am also putting out videos every single week, so if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. That way you're in the loop for any new videos that I put out. Otherwise, for now, I'm Colton, and I'll see you in the next one.